testimony. Today, I have a special guest. We're in the Love Deposit Studios, and I'm here with none other than Mr. Black Malcolm Mack. How you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to do, Malcolm, is walk you through some questions. It's more or less a guide. But ultimately, what I try to get to is where life began and where you are now, and how all of the things that you experienced in life got you to where you are today. So with that said, what part of town are you from?
Oak Cliff, Texas.
Oak Cliff. I hear that a lot. That's my hood. Okay. And when we say Oak Cliff, I had a guy on here by the name of OG Pee Wee. He broke down.
Know him real well.
Okay. So he broke down the different sides of the cliff.
No, we from the exact same side.
Okay.
Yep. Boy, they're certified. Yes, sir.
He's a certified OG. Yeah. So you being from the same side, what is that, South Oak Cliff?
Yes, sir.
South Oak Cliff. So tell me, what school did you go to?
Well, I went to Maceo Smith when it was on Beckley. And got kicked out, ended up at SOC, got kicked out, and eventually paid for a GED. So, you know.
Okay. And we're going to walk on through that.
And SOC,
we're going to walk on through that. We're going to walk through that slowly. And so, before I get started down that road, how many siblings did you have?
Well, I have a younger brother. He's known in the North. They call him Ali. You know, that's where he does his work at, and established that. Then I have a younger sister who resembles that bird that runs with Rodan. Godzilla, I think she looked like Rodan, but she's still my little sister.
Okay. So tell me this: what was your family dynamic like? And before you answer that question, this question is going to involve 3 decades. All right. So we're going to talk about maybe the 70s, the crack era, and then a little into the 90s, and then we'll just see where that takes us. So tell me, what was your family dynamic like?
Well, we was a typical, black family. You know, we wasn't known for, having a bunch of material things, but we were well-liked people. If you was hungry, we'd help, or whatever we could do, as far as the dynamics, we had our dysfunctions and our mishaps as any other family, but we pretty much tried to be there for each other as best as possible. I firmly believe that it's a lack of communication in families and ours, and a lot of people that won't allow families to bond, but even with that being said, we had a close enough bond to where, it wasn't no real tragedies or nothing, or no blatant hate, like you said, you got, what I'm trying to say, the word is togetherness.
Okay.
And what I'm getting at is, we had a certain amount of togetherness, but I feel like had the communication been strong, the bond would have been sealed. Okay. Because the root of a lot of dysfunction, and not just our family, in a lot of families, is the lack of communication. We talk at, around, or through instead of to each other. Google and Alexa can't do everything for us.
That part. So tell me this. When we talk about communication, some form of dysfunction, there was still a lot of togetherness. That's what you mentioned.
Right.
So how did growing up in your family impact your life today?
Well, like I said, we was pretty much a typical family. A lot of us, you had a few middle class, but a lot of us was from the ghetto. So we had the same problems that most people from the ghetto. We had our alcoholics. We had, and all this shit about black sheep. There's far more black sheep in our family than white. So, I ain't no judge or nothing on that matter. So, me personally, I had the misfortune of having my grandmother adopt the duty to raise me as a man, being 61 years older than me. So it was harder for me because all my uncles had their families, and they pretty much showed me a lot of stuff, but I had to force myself to go around other men and learn the ways of manhood, and that's dangerous when you got a boy trying to be in a man's position, because it's just like in the animal world. If you put a puppy with some big dogs, they might let him run for a minute till something go down, some food or female, then somebody got to get X'd out. He got to go back to the porch. So, a lot of times I end up back on the porch, licking my wounds, but you had a few dudes that would, take me in or school me. Then you had some, they reluctantly doing it, and you had some to run me out. But it was through other men that I learned to become a man. I'm still lacking in a lot of aspects. I'm not up to par with a lot of my peers, but that's not something I waste 1 minute of sleep on, because God's still working with me. You know what I'm saying? So I have faith in family, even though, like I say, I didn't have no extravagant lifestyle, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay. Now, you shared with me that your grandmother adopted you, and she was 61 years older, raising you as a man. Now I think I didn't pinpoint this. Did you grow up with a father in the household?
Nah. My father, he lived in Cleveland, Ohio. He was a Muslim minister. So a lot of his duties called for him to be there. But whenever he had time, he did make an effort to make a presence in my life, So periodically, up until the time he died, he did try to establish some form of presence. It wasn't nearly as big a bond as it should be, but hey, I give him an E for effort,
Okay. I had a recent interview that I dealt with, and he grew up in Oak Cliff as well, lived in South Dallas, lived in Dixon Circle, and he expressed this trauma. Matter of fact, he said at times he was petrified, traumatized, just going to similar places that you went. He went to Bow Story Middle School, and he lived near Beckley. And so, walk me through being from the neighborhood you're from, in Oak Cliff, going to schools like Bow Story, if you went there.
Went to Holmes and Bow Story.
Tell me about that.
Well, you got to understand the dynamics of Dallas, period. When you look at Oak Cliff, it went from being a upper middle class white neighborhood to a middle class black neighborhood. Going to school wasn't nearly as bad now because we wasn't into the gang things, and our biggest problem was other apartments. Like, I come out of Southern Oaks, so we was pretty much cool with everybody in Village Oaks, but you had the littlest motherfuckers was Butterbeans, and they kept up the most ruckus. Then you had the Himalayas, Royal Crest, Oak Cliff Village, and you had all these apartments trying to go to one school with the people in the houses. So it was more of a school, it was more of a street or apartment thing. It wasn't no, we got our squab on, but we had more respect for human life. You got your ass whooped, either learn how to fight or hide one. But believe it or not, when we grew up, the older guys didn't play that shit. You had a pecking order. I had the dudes, I could do that, and then I had dudes that jack my drawers with my ass and make me do shit. But either way, older guys helped younger guys become older men. That was a cycle. If I seen you running from somebody, they finna go find somebody, and y'all finna get y'all scratched. It wasn't none of this run to a gun, wanting to kill. I understand that some of these guys done got heavy in the game, and it requires that type of lifestyle, but in the final analysis, you got a lot of guys dying that didn't even have to be in the game. Their parents raised them. You know what I'm saying? They sent them to school to learn, but they went to school for other things. So, you know, I fell into that category too, you know. So, in answering your question, you know, it was kind of rough making the transition from different schools because you never know when you're in a rival neighborhood. Like when I transferred from Holmes, I didn't know that Bio Story even existed. You know what I'm saying? So not only that, I didn't even know these two schools didn't like each other. So here I am, you know, Okidori, and don't know they got a cake baked for me. And that gave birth to how I met my boy Crook now, you know.
Okay.
That was one of the first people I met.
Okay. And so we're going to walk through that because I wanted to understand the dynamic between you and some of your compadres or partners, where you guys met and some of the things that bonded you for life. So tell me this. You went from O.W. Holmes to Bout Story. You said they had a cake baked for you. A trick bag. Tell me about that.
Well, you know how you new guy in school, right? And everybody's like antisocial, you know, or looking at who is this motherfucker. So I'm sitting here, so finally, you know, I'm flirting with a couple of girls, some spit land on my hand. And I look up, and this fool like, are you mad? You want to fight? Hell yeah. So we go around and I'm trying to catch him, and we go outside. We throw a few blows and end up this close. His name was Tyrone Crook. And that ended up being one of the best friends I had, you know, along with a whole lot of other host of dudes that, you know, a lot of people might not like certain names, but I'm not no judge. You know, if I can get along with a person, you know, I'm going to do it, you know, and I've suffered hard for that, you know. You got a lot of guys that's on this I ain't friendly shit, and I have suffered being labeled friendly, whatever else, degrading for just trying to be brothers, you know.
Okay. Okay, I can definitely respect that. So tell me this, what kind of student were you?
A class A clown, but an intelligent one. I wait till I get through my work and go to cutting up like a mother, and everybody be with me, but I had the slight edge. I'd have my work done. That got me chased home from William Brown Miller a lot, but hey, you know.
Okay, okay. So that tells me that there's intellectual prowess there. So that's good. That'll draw us in. So being that you're connected with some names, you mentioned the name Crook, and that's a familiar name. I know it very well.
Tanya B, I remember her when she was a little girl.
Tanya B, being one of the best interviews that we've done here, and you remember
She's
her.
been through a lot. That's true. So I remember little Tanya. We stayed in Southern Oaks. We'd be outside playing, and it'd be this little girl that's sitting there with fucked up look, and I knew what was wrong with her because whenever she'd have her pants and, you know, shirts and where she could run around and get there, all she'd have this much. But when her mom make her put on that dress and the little ribbons, oh, she'd be mad in the mouth. And I'd always either, oh, Tanya, you mad? You didn't want to wear your dress? No. And I'd be like, I'd try to say something to cheer her up. She'd be looking at me like, you can tell your ass. Cause she didn't. But that's just, you know, a fond memory I had from back in the game. You know, she stayed in the same complex as Tony G and Jick and a lot of other cats on that side of Southern Oaks.
You know, it's funny. That means we've crossed a lot of similar paths. I mean, my family was in Village Oaks, but when you talk about the Tanya B interview, one of the things that I started with, I said her name 3 times like Candyman. Watch her roll on your ass like an avalanche. And I was younger than you guys, you know, and I grew up in South Oak Cliff and off Keystone Polk too. And I would just hear these stories. And then when I had her sitting on the couch, you know, it's kind of solidified things. So were the myths and the legend or the all of that, was that something you also remember?
You know, I'm going to say yes. But I want to say yes in respect that she's lived to say how she's overcome. Because a lot of youth will look at that and you know, like, oh, I knew it and stuff. Hey man, you got a lot of people with these reputations that if they'll gladly tell you, if they could, they'd not be the person they created. So I'm quite sure that anybody that grew up in Southeast Oak Cliff know goddamn well if you want a good fight out of a female, fuck with Tanya B. And that's what you gonna get. So, you know, as skillful as she was with her hands and stuff, I'm willing to bet she'll tell you that that's no life for no. When you get those reputations, you got to stick with them. You don't get to do like on the movies or the CDs. Walk out the booth and go live a normal life. No one wants to live over their shoulder. No one wants to have to make an example out of motherfuckers because they came to make an example out of you. So, in answering your question, yes, Tanya B is everything the title says, but I'm glad to see that God has brought her to the point to where she can say she's overcome. You know what I'm saying? Just like Pee Wee. I watched that boy go from an innocent little old high school dude to a treacherous dude that would dome your ass and stayed full of sherm to a family man that he is now. God's working with him. He has a wife. He got kids, grandkids, doing good. I've been on his job for years. So, the moral of the story is, I'm not finna glamorize none of these titles y'all give us. We have suffered penitentiary time, bullets, knives, threats, sleeplessness, homelessness, pennilessness. We done had to do what it takes out here. So if you do not have to be in the streets, please make something out of yourself. You know, because it's not no requirement in life for no black man to go to no penitentiary. And for these dudes that's been going to penitentiary since 75, still getting out around and trying to make that shit look like it's live, they gotta be sick. I don't miss nothing. 19 years of my life went to TDC. I miss nothing down there.
So that was heartfelt, man, and it was real. And we're gonna walk through that. But what I want to go back and do is capture your childhood as it transitioned to young adulthood and where you eventually got into some trouble. So let's just talk about it. So you grew up in Southern Oaks.
And Alaska Street. My grandmother
State Streets.
My grandmother purchased a house in 66 on Alaska and Keys.
Okay.
And she stayed there till her death.
Okay.
2010.
Okay. So that's probably, and that helps us. This helps us. So when you were going to O.W. Homes, that was Southern Oaks.
Right.
And your journey to Bow Store was Alaska Street.
Right.
Perfect. That's great. So tell me, after you get this new circle of friends, you've shown that you're not afraid. You were a class clown somewhat, but you were doing your work. Did you play any sports?
Nah, I had chronic asthma, and my mom, you know, she was kind of the mother hen when it came to sports. I don't really like boxing, but she wouldn't allow it, so I missed out on sports, due to my health issues.
I'm gonna have to run that question back.
You forgot to say something.
Oh yeah, put that on side. I'm gonna have to run that question back.
It's yours on silent.
Your phone.
I don't know. I don't even know how to work these phones. I don't know whether it's on silent or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, run it back.
Yeah. Okay.
Let
So
me know when it's going.
yeah. So you moved from Southern Oaks Apartments near OW Homes
Right.
to the Alaska Street with your
Yeah.
grandmother. You get a whole new group of friends. Now tell me, were you participating in any sports?
No, I had bronchial asthma real tough, so my mom was real selective on what she allowed me to participate in sports. Any contact sport, that was out of the question.
Did you go to the Oak Cliff Boys Club at all?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did you do any boxing there?
Nah. I hung around, Stoney and Timothy James and Pinky Kelly, Dummy, Kevin Patton, and a lot of the boxer dudes. But like I say, I was more in cracking jokes and doing, I was more of a heckler type dude, So no, I didn't box.
Okay.
Probably should have.
But one of the questions, the reason I asked that is because one of the questions that I asked OGPB was, there have been people that said they jumped off the porch, but they didn't learn how to protect themselves physically until they were incarcerated. So I'm wondering, being from Southeast Oak Cliff, where you learned how to scratch, where you learned your squabble game.
I owe that to a combination of people because, like I said, that in my very, very early school years, I was more like the road runner. I was running home from school, so I credit guys like Michael Fennell, known as Swoop Down. I credit Michael Bradford. I credit Levon, Mark Menifee, a whole lot of dudes, the Govans, they used to stiffen me up. Roger Sheldon, rest in peace, the Crooks, I got my cousin Mark Five, oh man, it's, Gerald Taylor, Leonard Lyons, a lot of those guys, some let me know how to fight and then others let me know when to get off, because once I did get a little piece of boxing game, I thought I was live, so some of the older guys, toned me down, and I realized that all a man have to do is be cool and defend yourself if you have to. So, I come up with real bullies, not no fucking cyber bullies, or we didn't, you couldn't insult us and stuff. If you didn't knock the shit out of one of us, shoot the shit out of stab, you wasn't doing nothing else, cause we had thick skin like that. So, I owe it to a lot of men in Oak Cliff that helped me be a man. And like I say, I might not have the gold teeth and the Cadillacs and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm not up to par on that, and I don't sugarcoat it. I'm one of the least of the living legends in Oak Cliff, but God has brought me 54 years on earth, and I've done a little living. It ain't just been existing always, and I don't glamorize squabbling, but I encourage every father, uncle, big brother, teach the young ones how to defend themselves. When they get in the penitentiary, there ain't no guns. That homeboy shit can only last so long. You might hit a unit where you don't nobody know shit about you. So I've seen a lot of dudes be on the corner, killers, go down there, and you see them, they knocking you down, running to the church house, or they in the commissary, one of trying to buy out a goddamn ass whooping. You know what I'm saying? Or they doing other stuff. So I tell any man, you know what I'm saying, strength come from the Lord. Fighting is come from within. You can do all the weightlifting, all the muscles. You can adopt the frowns you want, but it's right here. I can show you all the boxing moves in the world. But if it's not in here, if you ain't got that, if you ain't chanting, the nigga hit me, I'm gonna hit him back. I ain't gonna beat him up. This is what men tell themselves in those desperate times. They don't panic. Many of these boys haven't learned that yet. The video games can't teach your kids. You see what I'm saying? You can't leave it up to the computers. We created them. So if we had the intellectual prowess to create computers, we ought to have the goddamn prowess to bring our families back together. Quit giving up on these youth, acting scared of them or trying to imitate them, and be man and woman enough to take back them youth, the ones that'll listen. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm not suggesting that. Everybody do your thing. But for the ones that will listen, for the ones that have a willingness to learn, I ask my OGs to have a willingness to teach. You can't complain about something that you ain't willing to try to help.
That's right. So tell me this. So you make it through Bow Story. You end up at Roosevelt High School?
Nah, I bypassed that and end up at Mayfield.
Okay, so you bypass Roosevelt, you end up at Oldie Mayfield.
On Beckley, when it was on Beckley.
Okay. Was there anything notable that you recall that happened that influenced the trajectory of your life?
Well, I noticed the kids over in Sock area were more fashion conscious, and a lot of that materialistic attitude dictated how they interacted with each other, meaning that he might have on a Monty and Gucci and everybody jocking him, and I might have on just plain cement yards, tennis shoes and shit. My hood up. You know, they ain't gonna socialize with me. We didn't do that in Velt neighborhood. You know, if motherfucker cut for you, they didn't give a fuck what you had on or what. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that, but you know, everywhere is different. You know, so it was different, and a lot of times I felt like a lot of them was playing the big out little U game. You know what I'm saying? When I first got over there, and they was, but. All in all, you know, I wouldn't change a thing. I love South Oak Cliff High School students, and I got plenty of friends over there, and I love my Velt dude, and Maceo Smith dude. So when I say dude, that means females included, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not finna get into this which hood is rougher shit. Because all that did was give birth to a bunch of little crazy ass gangs and stuff. And on that note, for those that live that lifestyle, all I can tell them, be careful, man. Pray for them. I ain't gonna say what to start and stop doing. Everybody gotta do it till they satisfied, you know. I just hope one day, you know, that dudes get satisfied, man, and step up out the game, because that's all it is a game at the end of the day. Live fast, die young.
That's really good. So being that, we're going to talk about the crack era a little bit now, before we go into some additional things. I was young during the crack era. It impacted my life. My father got hooked on it. And he told his story, and so we've shared it with the world. But many of my friends, including myself, we ended up selling it.
Right.
So tell me about your experience during the crack era.
Man, that was a hectic time. A very, 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 very sad time in Dallas. I remember me and my partner, we was hanging in South Dallas over on Cleveland Street. And, we had just got a couple of 40s, and you know, we went to go get our head bashed, smoke a little understand me. And this fool hollered out the window, "Hey, yo, y'all niggas want to sell some crack?" And we looked at each other like, "The fuck, nigga, what?" So we ignore this. We get back to the cliff. The same nigga is over this nigga's house. kicking it with his brother. So when we walk in, they want us to leave. Y'all get y'all ass. I'm like, nigga. So they like, let them in. So this fool got this saucer with a big ass rock just breaking pieces off. And we were like, I said, man, I don't like this shit. It make your face hot. And, you know, it was the latest drug. Just like, you know, motherfuckers like, oh, y'all are cluckers. No, it wasn't no dope fiends then. No one knew the effects of it. So it was the latest drug. So you had dudes actually getting out of junior high and high school going to get a couple of Primos and a beer.
Yeah.
That was the latest thing. So I had my addiction for 4.5 years, off and on. They had from about 84 to the winter of 87, we had a bad run-in with a lot of Jamaicans that came through. Now, I hate what happened in that era because you had some, I'm not defending them. The ones that killed a lot of those cats in South Dallas and Oak Cliff deserve every bullet that came to them. But I will say you had some good-hearted Jamaicans that worked and would help your ass if you can. But they tried the wrong thing in the state of Texas. I don't give a damn how rough it is up north. Just remember one thing, it's tough here in Texas. And because we have our southern hospitality and we breathe, and it seemed like it was so easy to lead us into the traps, you made one mistake. You had a conscious disregard for our life, so we had to return the favor. When in actuality, the Jamaican is black and we was black, so all we did was, from across the water, keep up black on black crime. Because we willfully helped them make money, and then you had this other group that comes over with the Tough Act, thinking they in Harlem, wanting to kill motherfuckers over $10 and $5. We don't do that shit down here. So they had to make an example out of those guys. And it's sad to say, after all of what we went through in the 80s with this, you got dudes still nursing the pipe 2023. Like I say, person got to do it till they satisfied. But as far as the crack era, bro, that was a hectic time. Be thankful that y'all missed that shit. Because it was a lot of money. It was we had more money than you guys. They're stacking these chips now. We didn't give a damn about stacking. 50s was 2.5. You could easily make $120 off of $50. You was doubling and tripling your money. Who gave a fuck about racks on racks on racks? You could be a millionaire in 3 goddamn 6 months maybe.
Yep.
If you stay on your grind.
Yeah.
Depending on how heavy you was in the game. Yes, sir.
Man, you know, I don't mean to interrupt, but you just touched on the topic that brought back memories for me, and that a lot of people don't provide, you know, context or texture to, right? You know, I always say, I'm younger. I always say I didn't go to a HBCU. I went to SCBU, Sophisticated Crack Baby University. You know what I mean? My mother was an addict. I was born to an addict. But when you talk about the Jamaicans, right? I remember being a youngster in Oak Cliff walking to school and Jamaicans driving by, and I'm not knowing what's going on. I don't have any knowledge of, you know what I mean? And there go the Jamaicans, y'all run. You know what I mean? So before we move on to the next, you know, part of the interview, I just want you to give some context and touch on a little bit more about what that was like.
Well, the first wave that came through that I ran across was they was pretty much humble. They was on their money. You know, they was looking for turf. And I helped a few of them, you know, with little things, you know, getting throwaways and, you know, for customers for whatever product they had, you know. And, you know, they was, you know, it was pretty good exchange, you know. They had the product. We knew the streets. So, you know, money was made. But then you had this other wave that came down here with this New Jack City mentality. You know, they want to They had an episode inside Dallas where a guy, he buys a gold necklace and his little sister and them something to eat, and they killed a man for that. And you know, as much work as we was putting in, it's like you guys come down here now. You done went from we having the money together, like you using bully tactics. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. Yeah, Texas in its original definition means you got a friend, but now you think it's something soft. So after so much of that, people got tired, bro. We can't be in here killing each other by no red and blue, and then you got some little motherfuckers over here from across the water, 5'1", killing us over $5 and $10. So something had to be done. So again, it was a tragic time when black people from the Caribbean and black people of the Texas was killing each other over crack and money. You know what I'm saying? So it was a time in Oak Cliff that's too deep for words. A lot of people lost family members dealing with trying to be straight up and down. And again, I say all of them like that. Rest in peace, Shorty, Gold. You know, I could name others. You know, specialists. They was, you know, they were pretty good cats. Sensi, all of them. You know, but they made a lot of mistakes. A lot of guys from the north make, or from out west, they come here and see how laid back it is and how open hearted, till they get the hell whooped out of them, Texas style, or beat damn near to death or killed. Then you have to realize it shouldn't have to come to that. It's just like the boys down south say. We say we got killers and jackals and murderers too, but it shouldn't have to be that. I'm not, you know, I'm not the type of person that feels good about what went down with that. That was a cruel time in Oak Cliff history. You know, but I will say this. If it's one hood I commend, that's West Dallas. They didn't let them start, they didn't even let them catch ground over there. Soon as they come over there, they burn the slap down, tell you hoes ain't coming over here with that. You know, so, well, like I say, that just, you know, that was a torrid time, man, and it's a very sensitive subject, you know, and I don't want to sit here saying that I'm defending nothing that went down, because you can only put somebody into a coma for so long, they're going to come out of their coma. And when you get down here, and we making you money, we helping you feed your family, you helping us, and then you turn around and try to treat us like we better do it, or we lame or something. That's what's going to happen to your ass. You going back to where you come from in a box, or you going to leave this motherfucker with a well-whooped ass knowing that, hey, that sign, they say don't mess with Texas, don't just mean literally. That's all I can say on that, man.
I mean, that was actually deep. It's probably been deeper than anybody shared with it. I said I'm younger, but I experienced it. Matter of fact, they probably wondered, man, this dude keeps talking about this trauma and this PTSD. Mm-hmm. I happen to live in one of those apartment complexes where they just opened fire one day and shot up everybody by the pool, you know. And so it affected me as a kid, just seeing it and seeing murders all the time. And it was just an era where, yeah, if you were supposed to be selling for $10 and you came $1 short when you're giving your money back, they'd chop off your hand, or you find your friend dead in the creek. All that happened. Seen it. So for him to explain that was perfect. For me, I'll just share this and I'll pivot back. It was therapeutic for me to visit Jamaica several times. And the first time, it was all smoke. Because I still had traumatic experience. And so they're nice. I love them to death. So this is not a diss on them. But we didn't understand each other. That's all. The culture is give you this, but they want a tip. Nobody told you they want a tip. If you don't give them that tip, then later it becomes different. whole different thing. You're about to get into it. Once I learned the culture, learned the extreme poverty that they had, it helped me appreciate what they did when they were here. Now, the bully part and the killing kids and all that wasn't cool at all. And it affected a lot of us. So, but I'm proud to say I've been able to forgive them and kind of move on with my life. And I hope that it can be done the same for all of us, for all sides. But thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing it like that.
Yep.
So at one point, you get in some trouble, you actually get arrested for it. Tell me about it.
Well, I went a long, long time. I started the drug game in '87. Over on Park Row and Colonial, selling churn, and which y'all call wet now. And I went a long time off and on, man, and the winter of '99, I was on Alabama Street. And I actually was supposed to be at the trap on Harlandale, but we had ran out. So I went up on the other end to the bootleg and was kicking it up there. And a little homie of mine, he hit a lick on some sherm. So he didn't know what he had, so he let me smell it. And oh boy, I hit some of that shit and forgot all about what I was supposed to be doing. And he was trying to get me to wait, and I was trying to show him how to dip it and cut it, and probably come up on a little bit more, you know, and said all this, but that didn't happen. So I ended up catching my first felony that night. 6 or 7 months later, I had a real drastic fallout with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and those charges made them go ahead and run the charges for the dope case that I caught first, and I ended up with 11 years. The ex-girlfriend, she refused to come to court, so that helped a whole lot. And I was just thankful she gave that much damn about me, because I could have easily had a whole bunch of time. I fucked up pretty bad, but you know, that was basically my first time, and I ended up doing the whole 11.
You did 11 years. Now what was that, assault?
Well, I had 3 charges. I had aggravated assault, arson, and possession with intent to deliver. But they were ran concurrently, because like I said, the so-called victim refused to show up, you know, and she done it on her own free will, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I just, you know, I cried like hell after, you know, because that was the last time I seen my grandmother. Waving by to her at the court after I was sentenced. She was 93 then. And I wasn't so much crying about going to the penitentiary. It was more or less my state of mind. I was, my nose was about like 7-11. My heart was in half. My brain was scattered. I was at that age where I was, you know how you want something so much, it blinds you to the fact that it falls under the careful what you wish for theory. So my ignorance, along with the title of the charges, got me to 11, and I done it, and it wasn't easy. And like I say, I just done 8 on 15. I don't feel good about saying no shit like that, because, like I say, it's not a requirement for anybody to go to the penitentiary. That's anybody that makes that seem live, they either rescue or there's something funny going on, because it's nothing down there. Everything they offer, you can get out here with. You understand? So, how I done my time down there? The law library, the rec yard, the domino table, or the sports bench.
Okay. And we're
On
gonna get to
every
that.
unit I've been on, I've known for the law library, the rec yard, the sports bench, or the domino table.
Okay. We're gonna get to that law stuff because I got some notes on it. So tell me this, and I'm always intrigued with it, and I've had my own experiences in life, but I like to ask. So once you go through the court, you get sentenced. It's lighter than what it could have been. You do your time in the county before you catch the chain. What is your first day like in prison?
You are a bunch of unanswered questions. If you pretty much a hood dude, you're gonna play everything by sight. You're gonna try to pretty much go by the when in Rome theory. You gonna if you a hood guy, you know a Mr. Softy from a stand-up dude. You know what I'm saying? You know a lame from a dude that you know ain't having it. So once again, the pecking order is most guys that's gladiators, they ain't gonna be on the same wing with each other. It's too much. Their name carry too much weight, and it's always gonna be somebody who, what if, you know, that there. And for the lames, you know, you just gotta, you know, it's gonna be a day when you're gonna have to man up. But I tell anybody that's going in the penitentiary now, it's not like it was. They're not whooping the shit out of you. They're not taking you, but you got a few units that still bend the rules and let them up or get at you. So if you have the misfortune of going to TDC, I strongly suggest that you keep every moment of your time occupied. That way you don't have to get action at a dude coming up wanting to know what set you claim, or some sissy wanting to know do you get down, or some guard trying to get you in something. If you always doing some church, regular library, law library, or you working out, or you reading, or you taking a part like me, I spent well over majority of my little piece of stimulus on a paralegal course. That as time go on and the right setting and I get around like-minded people might benefit me. But my point is to stay sane, to stay having to be up under the stairs or on 3-row fighting. Keep your time occupied. If you're a Muslim, now's the time to get closer to Allah. If you're a Christian, Jesus calling for you. If you don't know how to read, they got Dr. Seuss books down there in the regular library. You don't know how to spell, now the time that you don't have, that's the whole point of doing time. If you don't find something to feed your brain, your heart, or whatever's lacking, you got dudes that'll pray for you if your spirit is hurt. If you ain't got a goddamn thing, you got dudes that'll look out for you. Or give you something, help you get a job where you can try and make you something. But you go down there, beating your chest with that tough shit, that Oak Cliff, that West Dallas, that East Dallas, that Bunton, that where the fuck you from, somebody will be glad to accommodate you. They do have units where they still eat, fight, and jack off. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? And be glad you come in with that tub, they set your shit down and bring your bitch ass on over here. And you mad, I'm mad too. So, be a man. It's more to being a man than saying I'm a man. Men gonna do manly shit. If you was a hustler out there, cause you in the penitentiary, your girl tripping, mama ain't getting you, and ain't nobody right, damn all that, man. If you was a hustler in the street, the only difference, you going from from grass to concrete. So if you was a hustler in that grass, you can be a hustler on that concrete. Some people ain't got no family, man. Some people ain't got nobody to give a damn. They done either burn bridges, they just ain't got nobody. So you have to learn how to cope down there. Otherwise, the wonderful state of Texas and TDC staff will have your ass in that pill window line. On some type of psychotic drug, talking about a damn $700 check that somebody else going to end up having to handle because you incoherent. So, if you don't rehabilitate yourself, they can give a fuck less. They say they promoting safety for the victim, but I don't see how in the fuck you doing anything for a victim of a crime by sending another disillusional man or woman out with $50 or $100. So don't look for them to rehabilitate. They got a couple of classes or something, but a lot of them teachers just going through the motion. Ask me how I know. I've been the head coordinator of one of the best programs they got, and the education leader. And these premeditated books they got are not reaching these guys. I done had to look white supremacists, Bloods, Crips, homicidal maniacs, murderers in their eye and try to convince them that somebody, God, their parents, their kids, somebody love themselves. That's not an easy job. When I had to fight to find that for my own self. And it wasn't until I got my ass out the way and let God work it a little bit that everything came to the light. So half the dudes, half the women that's in the penitentiary are locked up because they got in their own self-way. Ain't no use of praying to Allah, ain't no use of praying to Jesus if you ain't gonna let them work. Once you do all you can do, that's just what it is, all you can do. So that's how I done my time, man. I tried to keep myself sane as possible. You know what I'm saying? It didn't always work. I done had to get my scratch. You know what I'm saying? And believe you me, they know about Oak Cliff down there and these two things right here. But they also know about this. I've tried to help way more than I've tried to hurt down there.
Do you remember your, and I like to ask people this, do you remember your TDC number?
1941-538. My first one was 101-9574.
Why is that embedded in your, talk to us about somebody that never been to the penitentiary,
You
never
ever
took
seen
that trip.
the movie about the lottery ticket and the chick be Byron, till it get, if you getting woke up at every Vince, TDC number, it's 1 in the morning, they got a light on brighter than this. And you go through 7, 8 years of such and such, what's your name and number? Such, what's your number? Unless you happen to be a slow brother, it's not going to be hard to remember your number. Because if they say 779311, you going home, you going to knock that door down. You going to remember it then. But if they say 779311, you got a case. You sure what cell is it? Is it me? You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a play on your intellect down there now. They either gonna try to kill your spirit or numb what few brain you got. So all you gotta do is not let them. The only way you not let them, man, is you gotta draw within you every ounce of gumption, knack, will, hope, whatever you want to call it, and do like Gladys Knight say, a song that helped me, and I put it in a lot of my letters at the end to damn near everybody I wrote. She say she had to use the best of her imagination to think of good reasons to keep on keeping on. If you follow that format, be it he or she, you'll pretty much make it, man. You can't be everybody can't be followers. You know, I don't too much care for gangs, but the truth is they exist. And a lot of those guys are the ones that's in the penitentiary. And after being around them, you know, all I can say to your Trey Overtons, your Keeson Posts, your Dixon Circles, your Park Roads, your Goon Sides, your Ski Masks, A Blocks, whatever you rep, man, y'all just be careful, man. And the best part of the game to me is the day you find the way out. But if you're in it for life, just be careful. I can't preach to them guys, you know, cause some dudes didn't have no other choice but the streets. For me to sit here just because I didn't have some level of success or a few friends and family that's putting up with my ass, I'm not going to try to look down my nose at the next brother. It's a fight, man, trying to make the transition to a law-abiding citizen from being an ex-felon. And this is one state that if you allow it, they'll make you suffer the stigmatism of being an ex-felon and the rest of your life. But you gotta realize that once you accept God, He take them titles from you. See, once you become a Christian, you understand? I'm gonna use that for example. Jesus take all them other titles from you: dope dealer, prostitute, dope fiend, beggar, homeless person. You know what I'm saying? So you can't allow nobody, once you start climbing up that hill, oh, I remember you so-and-so, so-and-so.
That part.
Then you have these guys that they get on a certain level. And they go to looking down. Don't know God want them way up here, but they done got right here and got satisfied. Now they telling everybody you need to get on this level. Then you know, before you know it, now they looking up. He give grace to the humble and resist the proud. That's all I'm saying.
God resisted the proud and exalted stone. Yeah, know that very well. So that was very good, and I appreciate the detailed breakdown. So I'm gonna lighten it up a bit, but before I do that, tell me what woo means to you. What is woo?
Woo. Woo.
Y'all remember that noise?
Woo used to mean that I done seen a badass chick. You know, I mean, you talking about the word woo. I don't know whether it's a brand of Kush or whatever we talk about here, but
Listen to my voice.
yeah.
What was that?
That was when you see a badass female.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into your comedic endeavors, there's one piece that we didn't follow up on. Part of the reason I think there was a great explanation and a passion behind the crack era and the influx of Jamaicans into the community is at one particular point you went on the road. You took your show on the road. Oklahoma, New York. Tell me about that.
That was those were moves that was unintended. It was not like I had the bread to bounce up and go on a tour to other states. I was in the game at the time with some Jamaicans, and the trap got robbed. And instead of them doing like I said, and requested and getting me some heat, they got the door fixed and had the nerve to bring me another sack. Like, oh, it's gonna be all right. So I had the impression that you don't give a fuck whether I live or die, just sell this dope. So now I'm finna show you how the fuck I feel. I left with it. Well, when I made that move, my uncle got wind of it. And him being older, panicked like a motherfucker. Just the name Jamaican was Jamaican, that mother was horrified. It's like, and he spooked my grandmother. So at the time, my mother was living in Oklahoma, and they decided that I should go there. So I went there, and eventually ended up getting my own place. right after that happened and everything started going, I noticed when I come home from work, it'd be little cats over there, and I'd ask my brother what's up, and it'd be like, you know, it's his homie. So I wouldn't trip. You know, I didn't been where I had stayed, but I started noticing that everything he did was in a group. So I come out there one night, and they was out there talking. He was nodding out. I said, "Hey man, you can holler at them later. You can come in the house." So they all looking at me. Well, lo and behold, I didn't know my brother was in the game till I get into it with these niggas. So I'm getting them up with these niggas, and they trying to get him to hit me with a bat, and he trying to explain I'm his brother. So, you know, after that, the last straw. I just, Trailways had a special $69 one way, so I paid that, and I had a friend, we used to always ask about Texas, and I'd asked about New York, and I just headed there, and I think I had about $41 worth of food stamps and $11. So when I got there, I slept in the park over in Hollis for 4 days, and eventually got a job as a maintenance man over in Jamaica, Queens, and I worked there, and I stayed there a year, but every time I called home to check on my grandmother, she was hysterical. They just couldn't fathom me being up there, so eventually, one time I got doing, I had paid my rent, but I didn't have shit to buy food, so I called home and, oh my goodness, Jesus, come on up there. So I finally succumbed to that and ended up back in Texas after a year and after about 13 months.
So how was it in New York for you?
They are an odd bunch. You got some nutty motherfuckers mixed with some highly intellectual cats, and they're kind of hard to meet. They'd rather meet you up there. So, all that going up there speaking, if you say what's up, you probably get stabbed, because they what's up is not like, you basically calling motherfucker out. You got to keep, and like down here, motherfuckers see a fire, a dude swabbing, they run over and, hey, you need help. No, mind your business. You know what I'm saying? Because that could be a hit, and you disrupting it, or anything. Or it's a fun city. It's a lot of shit to see and do. I dig this, but I will say that they have very poor opinion about a lot of dudes from Texas, Alabama, being in, it's more, education is more bonded up there. They are damn near 60-something years older than Texas, maybe older than that, but I love Dallas, man, and even though I've had the luxury of being in, other states and seeing how others live, it didn't do nothing but make me appreciate and understand where I'm from and recognize the culture. I personally feel like being a black man, we as a people have yet to embrace our culture. And that's what I learned from being up there. I learned that better embrace digging the skin I'm in. Some people try to treat it like it's a fault being black, when in actuality God revealed to you it's a privilege, because we've been through everything. Two of the hardest things in America that ever been fought against is the black man and the cockroach, and you ain't stopped now one of them.
You good? We're just talking with camera.
No, that, I mean, you know, that reminds me, because you're getting into some stuff there. So recently, I had a person on that has done some history and research and on being African American or whatever we call it, and our correlation to biblical times. Mm-hmm. Now, when you do some tracing, and I actually did this myself, my ancestry shows that I am of the Igbo tribe. 93% African. Despite many years of me thinking I had a whole bunch of Native American in me, right? That's because that's what I've been told. Mm-hmm. So along with this discovery, this Igbo tribe from Nigeria, they talked about the Hebrew Israelites, and not as an organization, but as biblical. And I recall going back and reading Deuteronomy 28, 29, and I remember my grandmother, when we were on 52nd, reading, and she was a very spiritual woman. And she said, Vincent, she read the scriptures, and it was, you know, you'll be blessed going in, blessed coming out, blessed when you come, when you go, so forth and so on. But what people stopped at is they didn't get to the curses, right? And in the curses, in that next scripture, it talked about being bonded and being dispersed all over the world in ships. You know, all of this stuff that relates to slavery. Mm-hmm. So it's iconic and ironic that all of a sudden, with the study of DNA, people are able to go back and find, and they're saying, a lot of those were black people. So the thought that I didn't finish was, my grandmother told me after reading it, she said, they sound like us. They sound like they were black. She says, I wonder what happened to those people. That's what she says. And that just went away, and it left my mind. And my grandmother died in 2021. But this is years later, all of this information is coming up, and I'm intrigued by it. So tell me, what are your thoughts on this correlation between some of our African American ancestry as it relates to possibly being the children of Israel?
Well, you know, that's a subject that's highly controversial, and it has turned confrontational because you have a lot of these theology scholars and archaeologists and other studies of history and religion and all that, and they at odds with each other. A lot of the biblical characters in the Old Testament and New were Africans. The dude that carried the cross for Jesus from Cyrene, Lucius Simon. Cyrene happens to be a country in northern Africa, not too far from Tunisia. Moses' sister and brother was punished for having a negative opinion for him marrying an Ethiopian woman. The eunuch that was on his way back to Ethiopia after going to Israel and hearing was reading, I want to say, the book of Isaiah. And one of the apostles, I want to say, it might have been Andrew or Philip, they taught him in his chariot, and when they got to water, he asked what could keep them from being baptized, and it was nothing, and he was baptized. Well, the apostle was carried up in the spirit away, and he kept on to Ethiopia. So that right there, if you take it in its literal context, lets you know that long before British missionaries and all these other foreigners came to Africa, that was light in Africa. The Israelites of Ethiopia branched out through all parts of Africa. That's why for every Arab nation, you have a tribe that believes in Christianity. Christianity was there far in Africa in the biblical days. You have other people that would like to take credit for bringing Christianity to Africa. They brought the doctored version, but in its original form, it tells you clearly in the Bible where it started. So, without me going in depth, I would say get your concorded Bibles and whatever else and do your studies. Because as eloquent as some of our preachers is, or other religious leaders, unless you make an effort to get a personal relationship with God, a man or woman will tell you any and everything you want to know and lead you in all directions. But in the end, you're going to have to say, God, open my eyes so I can know and see whether these people are telling me right. Otherwise, you can read your word, and before you know it, it'll be ingrained in you. So, a lot of people have given up on religion and God in these last days. Life done beat them up to the point to where they done allow stress to overcome. They done the lack of money or what they wanted so bad they feel they'd rather take it out on God than to just roll with the punch. You can't go through life with the why me attitude, cause life will rudely answer your question saying, why not you? Now you got that boo-boo look on your face, you ready to go to war with the world when your problems are not as big as you make them. It's the people around you. You got people that your every suggestion, well, I don't think that's gonna work because such and such tried it, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? Never uplifting. We have yet to learn to uplift each other. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you more about yourself than you know. If I say, hey Vince, what you got planned for yourself? You, hey man, I don't know, that ain't gonna work, so try this. You know what I'm saying? At some point, we need more optimistic-minded people down here. You can't get mad and make songs, stop hating the South when you show every day that you hate your motherfucking self. You see what I'm saying?
That part.
And that's no disrespect to the makers of that song. I'm just telling you. You know what I'm saying? We can't jump on defense because we choose to glamorize, preach, glorify a bunch of shit that don't mean nothing, man. So if that's how a person making their money, by all means, I'm not your judge, bro. Make your money. They got a conscience though. You whoop a whole lot of people, but you ain't gonna whoop your conscience. You'll die. You'll run yourself crazy. You'll isolate yourself before you beat your conscience.
So, tell me now. You told us how you did your time. You've said on multiple occasions, I'm not on some tough stuff. You don't want to glamorize it. It appears that there's a comedic voice and a spiritual voice inside of you. So tell me about your pursuit of comedy.
Well, I've never really pursued comedy. I've always, like I say, been a heckler. When I get me a little understanding and around the right setting, I can be as comical as, and I, crack jokes, I can be pretty good, you know what I'm saying? And as far as the spiritual aspect, bruh, only a fool, and I mean biggest of fools, can go 40, 50, 35, 60 years thinking that he's living off his own intellect or her own intuition. Now you may have the education and the working spirits or the hustler's ambition to make some money. You know what I'm saying? And please, honey, and wear flying clothes, but what keeps you whole inside is something greater than you. And if you don't submit to it, you're going to be victimized by it. Because his will going to be done regardless. So if you want to, a lot of us are not thankful enough. We steadily praying for stuff and ain't saying thank you for the air I breathe. Thank you for the activity of my limbs. You know. But you want a bigger blessing. You ain't recognized the little bitty blessing. So at some point, yeah, spirituality got to take place in your life. It's up to you when you want to allow it. Most religions in their purest form are foundation on peace. But you'll never have peace till you find out where peace comes from. It ain't gonna come from the latest brand of Kush. It's not gonna come from the latest brand of liquor. You can sit here and get 100 condoms and go through 100 women. That's not gonna get it, bro. You can get that mansion on the hill. You can get that 1.5 billion on stage. If you're not happy on the inside, you're not gonna enjoy it. That's why you have people committing suicide that was famous. That's why you have people that's losing it. You know what I'm saying? Because they trying to fight this fight by their damn self. And I don't give a damn, the military can't train you to do that. That's why so many of them are suffering PTSD. Or whatever that shit is. You know what I'm saying? PST or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You can't fight this battle by yourself, man. It was not designed like that. We're all pawns, bishops, kings, knights, in a fight between God and the devil. So, it's up to you to decide which side of the fence you want to rock with. And my thing with that is, to each his own, you grown. Be careful. We, and when I say we, I mean everybody that's to sit on this couch. They claim to be a living legend or a gangster or whatever the fuck, you know, from Oak Cliff, have been through some things. And when I say things, I mean everything you see in them gangster movies, we done been through. Your shootouts, your drug deals gone bad, your incarceration, you're getting snitched on, all that shit. And I'm quite sure my, what's the word, associates and friends who we speak of are glad to tell you that they thankful they have overcome that shit. So, if I don't go in detail enough about the inner workings of the game or what it was like or who I had to get or who they, forgive me, because that means nothing. I don't want to give no indication. If you do not have to be in the game, brother, if you got parents that'll take care of you, do what's required at home. Do what's required at school. Just cause you see Johnny Joe in the game, Johnny Joe might didn't have no parents. He probably was one step from the foster home. But now you want to go live his life, and he's damn sure wondering, is you crazy or not? Because he's crying because he ain't got yours. So part of the destruction of the youth and a lot of guys that's older is we haven't learned to be thankful. We haven't learned that even as men, no matter how good your boxing game, your thinking game, your poetry or whatever you excel in, it's somebody greater than you, man, that can help you when you can't, or when you give out, when you don't have the answer to the question or know the clue or the answer to the clue or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that sit high and look low on you. But people have got so caught up in what they like to do, what they want to do, to where they'll modify and create a whole new religion just to get to do what they want to do. And I say to them, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got the answer for that. You know, if you want to live a fantasy life, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not sitting on this couch before y'all trying to play like I got answers to everything. I'm not perfect. I'm lacking in a whole lot of things as a man 54 years old. You know, never owned a car. You know, had very few meaningful relationships. You know, I've made a lot of backwards ass decisions that I'm not proud of. You know, but I ain't ashamed to admit. Cause like I say, God working with me. You know, one day I'm gonna get it right. If I'm a late bloom in the game, so what? You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna beat my head against the wall, and I'd be damned if I allow anybody else to beat it for me. You see what I'm saying? So, as lacking as I am, I have been blessed in a lot of other areas that I'm thankful to the Lord for. You know, and not just him, the people who, you got a lot of people on the streets that have tried to help me as best they could, you know. Not that I didn't appreciate it, it was just, I probably wasn't cut out for what they was trying to accomplish with me. You know, I just put it like that. As Dre used to say, creative differences, you know. I never was one that wholeheartedly was in the game. I didn't believe in hitting licks. There was a limit to the dirt I would do. You know what I'm saying? Very limited. So that put me at odds with a lot of guys, because you ask a guy, they're going to get it whether they have to rob, kill, or steal. You know, it ain't no question what they're going to do. You know, I kindly step out their way and turn a blind eye and a closed mouth and a deaf ear to their business. You know what I'm saying? And if you do that, you can make it, you know. But as far as comedian-wise, you don't have to, but I strongly suggest that every man and woman find it within themselves, if they don't have a sense of humor, try to create one. We live in too sad of times for everybody to be crying. Everybody can't be mad in the motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? So that don't mean I expect everybody to run out here like Ren and Stimpy and go to bouncing and laughing and all that. But I'm saying you got to fight within yourself to stay sound. The only way you can get sound is you're going to have some spirituality. You're going to have to stop taking yourself being overly serious. Oh man, you ain't serious. Some things don't require the attention we put to it. It's a little bit of shit, but we done made it big because it means so much to us. We ain't looking at the fact that, hey man, that ain't nothing. This what we supposed to be right here.
Hey man, my last question is: is there anything that you're working on, promoting, cross promoting that you'd like to share with me?
Right now, I'm working with the family, which is a branch of Hustlers Grind, and we are trying to put a little comedy and a little music together. You know, my project is coming up soon. You know, they was wrapping up whatever they had with my little sister and a couple of more artists, and soon, it'll be room for me to break. And if I could, if it's within my power, and I get around the right people, I would like to open up or be a part of an office where it teach the public on what motions to get filed, what questions to ask the lawyer. You know, being a paralegal, I can't give certain legal advice or tell you to do this, but I can answer certain legal questions being a legal assistant. And that's what I feel like, if, especially in the Black and Hispanic community, if we know more about what we do, and here's what I'm getting at: a dope dealer don't have no business after being in the penitentiary and around for no length of time not knowing the laws around controlled substances. You see what I'm saying? And a car thief, you supposed to know what Grand Theft Auto carries or what constitutes. So that's the thing I would like to do. And there was a group about 10 or 12 years ago called Concerned Christians, and they was calling for criminal justice reform and judicial reform, and we definitely need that in Texas because to this day it's very discriminatory in the judicial system, and especially our penal system. And nobody's asking for a perfect penal system, but anytime you got a law that says a sentence is to be continuous and you don't allow an inmate to serve his sentence in installment, but you have a clause, Government Code 508-283C, that allows you to stop time and add whatever time somebody done on the street to the back of their sentence, you creatively allowing your parole department to have more say-so than the judge. If the judge sentences you to 20 years, you have no business in the pen after 20 years. The law is you have to serve it on paper, in the penitentiary, on mandatory supervision. So how do you have a clause that covers the bottom portion of the parole certificate you received that clearly says if you catch another charge of violate, and they can suspend your time, and then Texas adds it to the back. So a 20-year sentence could end up being a 23-year sentence because you done 3 years on the street, which should be accredited to flat time. You will not find another state that does this. Then they got a deal they came up with in '96, discretionary mandatory supervision. House Bill 1433. They created this to take the automatic level away from early release, to make all early release discretionary. I mean, they took the automatic level from mandatory release to make all release discretionary while still providing for the legislator's intent, which is the biggest lie, because the legislator's intent is when your good time, your flat time equal 100%, you're out of there. That's what mandatory means. You cannot take two words, Texas, and add them together and mean the exact opposite and expect it to make sense. Nobody's been on a job where they say, we having a mandatory discretionary meeting after work. So those a lot of back burner things that as I get a stable income and my own place and around like-minded people that I like to work with. So right now I'm just doing the basics, fighting for disability. I had a little health scare about a month ago due to my weight. My mobility got kind of messed up. I'm waiting on, I signed up for housing, so everything is basically hurry up, wait now. This new system they got that the COVID scare messed up. Those are just some short-term things I got going, but I have a lot of lucrative things that if the right people and God say the same come, I can, be able to help myself and a few others along the way, which is all I've ever wanted to be able to do anyway. Just went about it backwards.
No, that's awesome, man. Listen, I'd like to thank you so much for coming and spending your time with us, sharing your story with us. And man, in the future, should you want to come back, make sure that you hit me up because it's been dope and I appreciate it.
I'm glad once again that it's somebody that give that much damn about, Oak Cliff to even, do these podcasts. Oak Cliff is a good city, man. They label a lot of the places where blacks and Hispanics live high crime, but hey, man, in the final analysis, man, Oak Cliff is a nice place to stay, man. It's been through some ups and downs, but I remember Oak Cliff used to be so fun, it was pitiful, man. We had Down and Under, Second Stage, Oak Tree, the End Zone, we had a lot of clubs, Fat Sally's, City Lights, Animes, over in the South, and it was a lot of stuff to do, you know, and I feel like if more guys, you ghetto rich guys, and a lot of you dudes that's in the real estate realize the equity, we can do more than detail shops and tobacco shops and all that shit there. You know, it's a lot more if you really love this neighborhood, you can invest in instead of crying about the Hispanics because they're taking care of their business. A lot of y'all had 25, 30, 40 years to get a brick, fix your house up, and you just step your game up to some essence. And I'm not mad at them a bit, you know. And if it's one thing I could leave anybody with, I want to thank Vince and the crew for having me here. I just hope the youth someday, you know, for this world and have more conscious regard for human life. It's 1,000 reasons a person can come up with wanting to use his chopper or his Glock 40 against. But I challenge you to find one reason to love your brother and your sister. And that don't mean just in your family, that means your brother and sister out there. And y'all start talking more to each other or resolving more. It's way more money to be had if you leave that bullshit alone, man. And that's the only advice I give.
I appreciate that.
And this has been another great installment. We want to say thank you. We appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate somebody listening to my
Yes, sir. Now we appreciate you for the gems and specifically, you know, the holding on to God. You know what I mean?
That's all we got, man.
That's all we got. So we want to say thank you. And this has been another great episode. And we have.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. All right. That was good, man.
Yeah, man.